Welcome back to the Holosky podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Steven.
And Kyle.
And it's Monday Holo Cult. You know what that means. We're back, ready to rock and roll. And you've chosen us to hang out with you and get you through the work week. And for that, we thank you. I have a follow-up to an episode that I did not think we'd ever have a follow-up to. So I'm kind of stoked to get into it. But first, we got to get through the business. So check us out, all our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Discord, Reddit. Search up the Holosky podcast and we'll be there. Come and join the community. Be part of the cult. It's a cool cult. Everybody loves it. It's a fun time. It's sick and fly. And yeah, it's a good time. If you have a paranormal experience you'd like for us to feature on a future episode of our listener experience show, Kyle's got some details for you.
I do. It's easy. It's in the show notes, but it's also holoskypodcast@gmail.com. Write your story out with as much detail as you possibly can. Hit that send button. We'll get it, file it, air it. You can also go to the website, holoskypodcast@holoskypodcast.com. And there's a little thing on the front page there. You can write your story out there and send it over. It inevitably goes to the same email that I told you prior, but whatever floats your boat. It doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll find it eventually. Or maybe we won't. I don't know. I don't know how the internet works. It's fine. Usually I tell everybody that they can fast forward a little bit to get to the crux of the show so you don't have to listen to us talk, but I forgot to do that earlier. So now, if you want to fast forward about 3 minutes, we should be there. If you don't, you can keep listening to me talk. If you'd like to support the show, there's plenty of ways you can do it. We have a Patreon for $7 a month. You can get all kinds of goodies over there. Patreon exclusive episodes. These regular episodes are released early and ad free. I know people always bitch about the ads. Well, if you don't want the ads, you can pay $7 and then you get them ad free. It's easy. We also got some Casket Breath jams over there. You are the first to know about merch drops. Sometimes you get merch, coupons, all kinds of good stuff over there. Speaking of merch, holoskypodcast.com, as Kyle mentioned earlier, has a merch store. You can go over there and check out some of the Holosky swag. I know we had talked about possibly getting some new designs and new stuff in here. Eventually, kind of spruce the store up a little bit, so keep your eyes open for that. Best thing you can do is share the show word of mouth. Just keep putting Holosky out there. Keep us growing. Eventually, we're going to hit that end goal. We're going to manifest that end goal of doing this whole thing full time, which would be sick and fly to do that. We'll get there. We're just taking our time. We're just trucking along. You can also go to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and review. And when I see them, I'll gladly shout you out. This week's 5-star rating and review comes to us from our friend Damn Near Kilder. Damn Near Kilder says, great podcast, 5 stars. This podcast is informative, mind-provoking, and keeps you engaged type of show. Kyle and Steve do an amazing job giving the listeners the information without coming off as though they are above our level. They talk to us like two friends would talk to each other sitting by a fire and drinking a few beverages. I would highly recommend this podcast to anyone who is even a little interested in the strange world we live in. You will come to listen to a single show and leave a dedicated listener who questions the norm in everyday life. Well, Damn Near Kilder, thanks for leaving us a 5-star rating and review. And we're glad that we managed to hook you via one episode.
Absolutely. Your handle reminds me of a guy I used to work with.
Maybe it is.
Weird story. Weird story.
For another time?
Yeah, definitely. This is probably not the platform for it, but hey.
Got me that.
But hey.
We definitely appreciate the kind words, and you've taken the time to leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's always good to hear. Always kind of puts the juice back in us, getting back into things.
It is cool to see the feedback on people falling in love with us.
Yeah. I mean, technically we are your friends. We're your campfire pals.
Oh yeah, without question.
It's all just one big holo cult.
And if there's one thing that me and Steve are 100% sure about is that we are not above anybody. So there's that.
Yeah. God, that is true.
Arguably, we're probably lower than most of you.
We're not very good at stuff.
No.
Another thing you can do to help support the show is support our sponsors, which you are about to hear a word from now. All right. We are back. We are ready to get right into it. Today I have kind of an exciting update to one of my favorite entities that we have ever covered on the show ever. It's one of the craziest ones that we talked about. It's been years now. It's been a while, but
it's crazy that it's been that long.
Yeah, I know. Everything just kind of blends. Time is soup. Everything blends together.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
No, I really thought it was a one and done. It's such an odd, weird encounter. And I hadn't heard anything really like it before, so I didn't really expect to hear anything about it again. But if you aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, because I haven't mentioned it, I've been super vague this far, you can go back and listen to episode 152 that we released. That's a long time ago.
It is a long time.
We've released over double those episodes since then. And I do believe that it is a favorite of the Holocult. We released that episode back in the beginning, March of 2022. That's like halfway through our journey.
Yeah.
Up to this point, not our total journey, up to this point. But that episode is, drumroll please, thank you, Sam the Sandown Clown. You guys remember old All Color Sam?
Yeah.
Apparently, it wasn't a one and done. So,
is it a recent encounter?
No.
Oh.
But it was follow-ups to the original encounter. We'll dive into it here.
Okay.
It's kind of an update. So, I'm going to do a little bit of a recap on the OG story, but if you want the whole thing, you need to go back and listen to it. That's episode 152, Sam the Sandown Clown. I'll be giving a recap, but before I get into it, we're going to start a bit with where the story is today. So there is a man by the name of Paul A.T. Wilson. He's a folklorist and a writer, and a Sam the Clown enthusiast. And he had been in search for the original experiencers, the two children that experienced the initial encounter, for years. Apparently, recently, like in 2019, he found one of them. And he's gotten to interview her a couple times, which is pretty interesting.
There's dedication there too to track them down and get a follow-up interview. Also, really bizarre one to be like ultra fascinated with.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because it was so far of a one-off, but he also lives in the area. So
okay, so you got a little bit of a local tie.
Yeah, he's kind of that kind of pulls his interest to it. Where am I at here? So through his work, he did find the girl who went by the name of Faye, which is an acronym, or not an acronym, pseudonym, because they didn't want their actual identity to be released. He's documented several meetings that she had with Sam post the initial meeting.
That's creepy.
Yeah, he's come back a few times. He's also doing a series of presentations on the Isle of Wight where it took place. So if any of our UK listeners are out there, keep an eye open for his speeches. If you want to go catch those, I feel like that would be pretty dope. So Paul lives on the Isle of Wight. He has a background in pre-medieval history as well as really interested in UK folklore. He has been pretty much searching the story of Sam for decades. And through that, he has been contacted with multiple different phase in the past. Like people would come forward, hey, I'm the girl from this encounter, and then they wouldn't provide any proof, and it would just be a complete runaround until this time. He thinks she has put forth evidence that is pretty compelling. So he's pretty well sold on the fact that this may be the actual girl from the encounter. With that being said, I'm going to go into a recap here, so everybody can kind of get the gist of the story, and then we'll go into the new information. So the original encounter happened back in May of 1973. A young girl that we know as Faye was playing with her friend in a meadow near Lake Common on the Isle of Wight. The children began hearing a strange sound, almost like an ambulance siren, off in the distance. Being kids, being curious, they decided to go check it out. This led them across a local golf course and into like a marshy field meadow near the Sandown airport. Interestingly, as soon as they stepped into the field, the sound stopped. So they're like, all right, well, that's odd. But being curious kids, they just continued off across the field. That's when they came across this wooden footbridge that crossed a creek that ran through the meadow. As they started to cross the bridge, out from underneath it came a hand that gripped the bottom of the bridge. And this hand had like a blue-like glove on it and only had 3 fingers. As it's gripping the walkway, they kind of stop. They're like, oh, this is weird. And then out from beneath the bridge crawled a tall humanoid creature. It had its back to the children, so they couldn't get a good look at it at this time, but they did see that it was holding a small like notebook in its hands. They knew this because as the entity tried to get out from in the creek, he dropped the notebook into the stream. As he went to retrieve it, he was kind of like splashing around and stuff to recover it, like he was struggling. And then he climbed up the opposite side of the bank, but he still refused to like make eye contact with the children and just kind of moved further away from them. They talked about the way he moved, the way he moved was not like normally human. He moved in real jerky puppet-like motions, almost like he was hopping, and that really stood out to them. As they watched him make his way across the marsh or the field, they saw this weird metallic hut sitting in the meadow that they didn't see before or on their way out there. They didn't see it, but now that he's moving toward it, they noticed it, and they described it as having no windows. They watched him disappear into the hut, and that kind of startled the children. They are like, okay, this is pretty fucking weird. We kind of want to leave. When they turned around to leave, the odd siren noise started up again, started wailing again. This caused Faye to turn around and look at the hut, but her younger friend, I think Faye was 7 and I think the little boy was 5, so they were pretty young. The younger friend just continued running. He was getting the hell out of there. That is until the wailing stopped and they began to hear a voice. As they looked back, they saw Sam, the creature, had come back out of the hut, and he was standing in front of them. They're standing in front of the hut, talking into this black knobbed microphone that was connected to almost look like some weird speaker down at his feet. And they said they heard him speaking and they saw him talking into it, but it wasn't like the speaker was putting sound out into the air. It was the way Faye described it is he would talk into the microphone and it would directly like go into their brain, like mind speak, which is kind of crazy.
That's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And the voice said, "Hello, are you still there?" The children said there was something friendly and calming about his voice, and it made them subconsciously want to approach him. It made them want to go and talk to him. So I thought it was weird. I'm going to stop right there and kind of talk about it a bit. It's weird that he's dressed up. Well, not dressed up. He kind of looks like a clown, because I'll talk a little bit more about how he's described here from the original encounter. But it also, like, him dropping the notebook in the water and splashing around made like, it feels real animated to me, like he's trying
Yeah.
to be funny for the children, which is creepy.
Yeah, I think it, and I don't know if we really hit on it when we did the original episode, but it definitely makes me feel very screen memory
Yeah.
presentation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it like from the accounts that we've heard since then of cartoon rats and just all types of characters that get affiliated with extraterrestrial. This feels like it's right up that alley,
It's weird.
especially with the metallic hut and all that jazz. It feels very extraterrestrial to me.
Yeah, it makes me feel like, because they're young kids, they're 7
Yeah,
and 5. It makes me feel like they're trying to rationalize a UFO abduction.
yeah.
Because we've seen pictures of different UFOs, and there could be some that are easily mistaken for huts.
Oh,
Like
sure.
the way that it's drawn. I've got the original. I found like a PDF of the very original uh Bufora account where they actually had the Sam account. Um, and it is, I can't remember what Bufora stands for, but I'm about to find out. British UFO Research Association. So I've got the original PDF from when this was published in 1978. I might post that in the Patreon for everyone. You can find it online, but if you don't want to search, I'll post it in the Patreon. But the drawing of the hut and stuff's there. The original drawing from the children are there. It's interesting reading the very first time anybody came out with the encounter. This is the way they described him directly from the Bufora account in January of 78. Said he was nearly 7 feet tall and he had no neck. His head appeared to be set directly onto his shoulders. He wore a yellow pointed hat that connected seamlessly with his red collar of a green tunic, a round black knob set on the top of his hat, and wooden, quote, wooden, what they thought was wooden, antenna extended from each side of the hat. His face had triangular markings for eyes, a brown square for a nose, and motionless yellow lips. Additional round markings adorned his paper white cheeks, with a fringe of red hair fell across his forehead. Quote, wooden slats protruded from the sleeves of his tunic and beneath his white trousers. It almost makes it's almost like a clown crossed with a scarecrow or some shit.
I'm gonna look into something real quick because it makes me feel a certain way, the way you describe it. But I want to see.
Kind of makes me think of Ronald McDonald. If Ronald McDonald was an alien.
All right, so here's what I think. The way you describe it reminds me of two things. It reminds me of a child's drawing of a clown,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you compare that. So you think about it, you're like, well, what could be a reference point? What could be familiar? Oh, I know. Pinocchio.
Mm.
Pinocchio came out in 1940.
And the way he moved like a puppet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Based on the artwork in Pinocchio,
Yeah.
all that shit, it 100% makes me feel like some little kid watched Pinocchio and kind of used that inspiration to halfway draw a clown-ish thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something.
I initially thought, I wonder if there's any clowns out there that will match the description he gives. Then you give the description, and I'm like, man, it makes me feel like a little kid drew a picture of what they envisioned a clown, but they used reference points from Pinocchio.
Yeah. Oh, that could very well be. I didn't think about like the puppet aspect. The way they described him moving like a puppet, also very, very Pinocchio like. The
Of course, yeah.
and just hopping. That's interesting. Good call. The entity was still holding onto its notebook and began communicating through it. Instead of using this weird mind speak microphone as the children were there, he wrote a series of words just kind of all over the place, not in any particular order. He showed them to Faye, and then he pointed to them the way that he wanted her to read them. And he said, or the words he pointed to was, "Hello, I am all colors, comma, Sam." So that's where he got his name, Sam the Sandown Clown, or All Colors Sam.
That's
Which,
weird.
yeah, it's strange that he decided to communicate that way, because
I wonder if like the mind speak thing was too much for the kids. Like it kind of picked up on it, was freaking them out.
or if maybe like him being inside their brain is what calmed them enough to get them to where he wanted them to be,
Maybe
like to bring them over, lure them over.
because yeah, you think about it, the mind speak speaker could have been like a last ditch effort to get their attention because they were already on the run.
Yeah.
And then once he got them there, he changed tactics.
Yeah. They go on to say that after Faye read this, said this out loud, he reverted back to speaking, not through the microphone, but also not normally. The children said that he was talking directly and they could hear him, not just in their brain, but they could hear him out loud, but his lips didn't move. They said he was hard to hear and hard to understand, like someone who didn't move their mouth properly, almost like a ventriloquist with a puppet, oddly enough.
Yeah, that is weird.
He asked the children about themselves, began asking them questions. So in return, they asked him questions. They inquired about his clothes, which were all ripped and tattered, and he explained to them that he only had one set, and those were the only clothes he could ever wear. Because of his strange pale features, they asked if he was a man. He chuckled and replied no. Then they asked if he was a ghost, and his answer was vague. He said, "Well, not really, but I am in an odd sort of way." And the kids asked, "Well, what are you then?" And he just responded with, "You know," and then didn't offer any further explanation. He also mentioned that he had no name, which is confusing because he put the word Sam down on the notebook.
Yeah.
So there's kind of two camps to where they don't know if he was referring to himself as Sam or if maybe he thought one of the children's names were Sam.
Interesting.
He went on to tell them that there were others like him. He even drew a rough sketch of them. He confided that he was frightened of people and worried that they may hurt him. Apparently, if attacked, he said that he was not allowed to fight back. Faye noted that there were two farmers mending a fence nearby, and they didn't react to Sam. They didn't react to the children talking to him. They didn't react to the hut. Nothing at all. It was almost as if the farmers did not see anything that was going on. This all took place outside of the hut, I should say. So then he invited the children into the hut. They said that as they went in, they had to crawl through this small little flap, and Sam was behind them as they went in. But as soon as they crossed the precipice of the flap, he was already inside. So it was almost like I don't know, what is that called when you can just move from one place to another? Like Nightcrawler.
Yeah, it's almost like a teleporting thing.
Yeah, teleportation. That's it.
Or it could have been like with the way it's set up. Those kids could have been talking to a fucking hologram.
Yeah. It gets kind of interdimensionally later on, so he may just
all this definitely feels predatory.
He may just be walking in and out of dimensions and nobody even knows it. As they crawled through the flap, they kind of described what the inside of the hut looked like. They said it had 2 levels. The lower level had plenty of headroom and also had a weird wallpaper on it that was blue and green. And it had all these patterns that looked like dials. But they did mention that it was like on the actual wallpaper. So that's weird. Like almost like it once.
I'm telling you, this all feels like a kid's drawing, man.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like the way it's playing on them, obviously it's not a legit kid's drawing, but the way it's like making them see everything, it just feels like a kid's drawing
to make everything feel less threatening.
Yes.
Yeah. It contained an electric heater, they said, and simple wooden furniture. The upper level was smaller with a metallic floor. He told the children that he fed on berries, which he collected in the late afternoon. He did not say exactly where, but he mentioned that he had a camp on the mainland that he could go to. He also said that that the river water around here could be drank once it was cleaned. As they're inside the hut, he removes his hat, revealing a round white ears and sparse brown hair. Before eating a berry, he performed an odd, quote, conjuring trick. He placed the berry in his ear, thrust his head forward, and made it disappear, only for it to reappear out of one of his eyes. Which,
little kid magic tricks.
yes. He repeated the process in the other ear, which made the berry end up in his mouth. Then he ate. They continued to talk for about a half an hour before the children said that they had to be on their way. They stopped talking, or they took off, and they stopped at the groundskeeper who was at the golf course that they'd crossed. They told him that they had seen a ghost in the meadow, and he just laughed them off. The children kept the encounter secret for a few weeks before Faye told her father, who at first didn't believe them. But when he heard how much detail they had both explained and shared in the encounter, he began to think that maybe his daughter had been abducted by aliens. He himself was...
See, that there, right there, to me, explains the antenna on Sam.
His head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what are the odds in that day and age that he, out of the blue, thinks that his kid is abducted by aliens?
He's deep in UFO lore.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That's why his daughter drew that. You know, and, well, in my head, she is responsible for the creation of what Sam is.
Looks like, yeah. That's a theory that maybe, like, because he had many UFO encounters up to this point, and even one like a few weeks before the Sam incident. So they're wondering if maybe she had kind of just heard bits and pieces of this and then kind of translated this into whatever encounter that she had.
Or it's hereditary. I mean, we hear that all the time, that these abductions will follow lineage.
Yeah.
And the fact that she most likely had heard tales from the dad, I think it feels like a swap. Like, she started putting interest into it, kind of, not really, but kind of. We'll just say it's interest. It picks up on that and is like, well, I'm going to appear to her as something non-terrifying. You know what I mean? Like, it all feels like,
yeah,
it's connected in this weird, I don't know. To me right now, it feels very predatory.
Yeah.
Like, it feels very wrong.
It's weird.
Like, I know a lot of people would be like, oh, but it's just being nice. You know, I don't know. I just feel a predatory sense kind of knocking on the door.
Yeah, because it's an alien. None of them have good intentions.
Yeah.
But her dad, who goes by, like, there's anonymity everywhere, but goes by the name of Mr. Y, which Paul does a lot of research into, including his UFO encounters and stuff. And they say at his talks, he talks a lot more about the encounters that Mr. Y has throughout his life, especially post Sam. He kept detailed journals of all of his encounters up until he died in the early 2000s. Fast forward, we're going to talk a little bit more about Paul here. So Paul A.T. Wilson has always been interested in the case of Sam, often trying to research and find the original two children that I had mentioned earlier. He's had his run in with people claiming to be Fae, all of which couldn't provide much evidence at all. This is until 2019. He was contacted by someone who claimed that their mother was Fae from the Sandown Clown story, and she wanted to meet and speak with him. Paul obviously was skeptical from being burnt in the past, but he agreed to meet with the woman. After arriving at her home, she produced a box and handed it to him. Inside were 60 pages of documents, including handwritten letters from Mr. Y to Bufora and letters back from them. Also included was the original sketches of Sam and the original sketches of the hut. Even the notebook that Sam had when he dropped it into the stream and had written the little I am all colors Sam was included in this box from the original encounter. So this obviously was enough to catch Paul's attention.
Rightfully so.
He said the notebook was still like it. You could see the water stains on it where he dropped it in the water. Also included in the notebook were sketches that Sam had made of like plants from the area, rocks from the area, very much like other UFO alien encounters we've had
Yeah.
where they're checking shit out.
And think about the nonchalantness of that little detail of there being water stains on the notebook.
Yeah. I don't
What are the odds that someone fakes that?
that's what, like, I kind of get into whether or not this could be a hoax at the end. And if it is, like, someone put their time in.
Yeah.
I did not find how she got the notebook. I don't know if Sam gave it to her later on or if he gave it, because it didn't say he gave it to her in the original encounter. But anyway, this Faye told Paul that this wasn't the only meeting she had with Sam. She finally in 2019 wanted to come forward and talk more about it. So that's where we are now, Sam's return. The second encounter happened in 1982, 9 years after the first sighting. Faye was a teenager now, and she was working at a local stable a ways away from her home, far enough that it caused her to have to ride the bus back and forth. After she had finished up for the evening, she began her trek back toward the bus stop. She gathered up her stuff, and she was walking down this long, windy country road to get to where the bus would pick her up. There's woods on all sides of the road. It's pretty secluded. There's nobody else there. She's walking down this road. She began to hear a faint buzz or a hum, almost like the air was full of static electricity. So much so that she said she could almost see the electricity shimmer in the air. So she began to get nervous. She was just feeling like something was wrong. So she started to walk a little bit faster toward the bus stop. Then she started hearing a rustling from the forest. And that's when she saw him. The same white painted face, the same tattered, torn clothing. Although she did mention his clothes looked cleaner and less tattered than before, almost like he had cleaned them up and tried to fix them. But it was Sam, and he was back. He scuttled out of the woods in his weird puppet walk, his weird hopping, like he did before. This time he didn't come with a microphone and a notebook. Faye said that he carried what she thought was a wand, but as he got closer and looked at it, it looked like a flute with a bunch of buttons on it. She stated that she wasn't afraid of him, kind of like the first time that they met. Like she felt almost at peace, an odd calmness that she always had with him, even like when the little boy was terrified in the first encounter. But what Sam had wasn't an instrument at all. He actually used it to draw, not on the pavement or in the dirt, but he would wave it through the air. And where he would wave the wand, it would create illustrations that what Faye said looked like animated chalk drawings in the sky, and they would just, or in the air, and they would just hang there until they would dissipate. She wasn't sure why he did this or what he was trying to convey. The things that he was putting forth didn't make any sense to her. They were just symbols and shapes and stuff. But like with a lot of things Sam does, they're just weird. He's just a weird creature. Like his interactions and behaviors are strange, and there's not a lot of explanation to them. He then began to speak to Faye. She noted that his voice was much clearer than before and less robotic. Sam said he'd been keeping an eye on her, and that he was glad that they became friends. Faye was in such a shock that she's seen him again that she didn't really do much talking at all. Sam just kind of led the conversation. He went on to tell Faye that things were better now. He didn't have to forage for food, and he didn't have to hide from humans. She asked him to elaborate what he meant by better, but in the classic Sam vagueness, he just kind of dodged the question. She said that he stood there and spoke with him for what she thought was about 10 minutes when she told him she needed to go and get on the bus or her family would be worried. Sam nodded his head in understanding, and he said, "I will see you again 4 more times if you want. Travel safely," before he creepily hopped off into the forest. It wasn't long before he returned again. 1 year later, 1983, Faye was 17 years old. It was a warm summer evening, and Faye had went out to a local park to spend some time with her friends. They were all gathered around some concrete park benches, smoking, drinking some wine that they'd stole from their parents, just doing normal teenage things, just hanging out. Faye hadn't been there long enough to even have a drink when it started. This time it wasn't a sound, it wasn't a feeling, this time it was a smell. Faye said that she could smell the undeniable scent of freshly turned dirt. Just the smell of earth was overwhelming. And as she was smelling it, it quickly changed into what she described as a smell of burning leaves. Once the second scent filled her nostrils, everything changed. She said she was still in the park, on the bench, but it was different. Her friends were gone. She described it as if almost a veil had been laid out, like on the world. The colors of the grass and the trees were deeper. The shadows that the trees cast were longer and exaggerated, and there was no sound at all. It was completely silent. She said it was like someone had just turned down her reality. Didn't turn it off because she wasn't somewhere that she didn't know. She was still in the park, but it was just like her world had been tuned out a little bit, almost as if two realities had kind of fallen on top of one another. That's when she saw him. His white face, his tall frame, stood just a few yards from her on one of the paths in the park. But this time, Sam was not alone. Sam had mentioned earlier that there were others like him. This time, Faye got to see them. Behind Sam stood multiple other entities. Faye had a hard time making out the details of them. She could tell that they were similar in size and they both wore the weird patchwork clothing that Sam had worn. She said they were hard to look at, almost like her eyes couldn't focus in on them. She said some of them seemed to shimmer in the way that the air was kind of shimmering when she met Sam a year ago, like the electricity. She could also hear them talking, kind of, except that they weren't speaking any language that she could understand. She described it as them just chattering to one another, back and forth, which is creepy. Just hearing them going back and forth to one another.
It is creepy. But with that being said, in your current descriptions, we got to make sure that my episode's next.
Okay. Deal.
Because it definitely plays into my episode, ironically enough.
It's weird how that works out sometimes.
It shouldn't make sense at all. But actually, it makes, like, there are enough puzzle pieces there for you to go, what the fuck?
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's definitely strange.
Good.
The way you described it all, it shouldn't link up at all.
Things have a way of doing that with us.
It's especially like just even the subject matter of Sam. There's like it. If I were to lay my entity out next to Sam, you'd be like, "There's no fucking way. It's not possible."
I love it. Get ready, Hollow Cult, because we're gonna need you to make some connections.
It's gonna be weird.
Yes. Again, she said they weren't speaking any language that she could understand. She described it as chattering to one another. It was also distorted and hard to hear. She said it was almost as if you were trying to listen to someone speak while you were underwater. She referred to it as language without meaning, which I assume is just that she didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a very weird description.
Yeah. She then noticed something else. Along the trail in the park, these tall lighted shapes began to appear, almost like doorways. They were tall enough for Sam and the other entities to easily pass through them. At this point, Sam approached her, not in his normal jerky puppet hopping motion, but one smooth, fluid motion, almost as if to not startle her. He said, "I'm glad you're here. You're doing well." Faye again felt overwhelmed and didn't speak much, with good reason, considering she may have just stepped into an alternate dimension. But Sam wasn't bothered by this, and he decided to guide her along the path. As she moved past these doorways, she noted that each of them had a very unique feel about them, like their own energy radiating off of all of them. As she passed them, she would glance beyond the doorways. Each one of them looked like it led somewhere different. One had a bright green orb beyond it, almost like a lush green planet. Another had what looked like stars in a blackened sky. One just shimmered like the other entities did, almost like it was just radiating electricity. Each door showed her something different, although she couldn't remember them all. She really just spoke of how each of them made her feel. She said some felt joyous and felt kind and welcoming, like there was just peace beyond the doorway. Others, she said, felt cold and empty. There were some that felt threatening, but the one that stood out to her, as she looked, she could see Europe from above. She said that there were no borders, no barbed wire fences, nothing. It was all just Europe unified. Sam then chimed in and told her that the world would not end in her lifetime. There would be no nuclear war in her lifetime, and Europe wouldn't be split for long. Given the time that this happened in the early 80s, the Cold War ramping up, it was almost as if Sam had knew, like, she had these concerns in her head and he was like easing them as she was going through. Sam then told her that this is the second visit. If you want, I will visit you 4 times. She immediately began to question him. Why her? Why was she chosen to be visited? Why did he keep coming back to her? Sam just nodded, and immediately she was back in the park with her friends. There was no odd smell, no weird noises. She was just back on the park bench with her friends. They were there drinking and laughing. She had asked how long she had been gone, and they just looked at her like she was crazy. To her, she'd been gone with Sam for quite a while, but to them, she never left at all. She was just still interacting with them, which I made a little note there. Like, you hear stories about abductions not being physical abductions, just being consciousness abductions. That feels very much like what this is, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
That you can be.
You're going to be even more fucked up next week. Because everything you're saying, it ties right into my episode. Everything.
That's
like
weird.
I sit here and think about it, and everything that you're describing. Where remind me again? They met. She was in a park. They came from the woods, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Need to clarify.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes. I'm trying to write down these notes to remember the connections for when we do my episode, because it's fucked, man. It's really fucked. But it does. You're right. It does. Like, I'm not going to take that away. It does have a lot of markers with alien abduction. Lots of markers.
It's crazy to me to think that you can be abducted consciously and you could still exist physically here, and the people you're around won't even realize it. Like, almost like they control your body to make it look like you're not gone. Like, you're just right in, laughing along, smoking cigarettes, drinking wine, hanging out with your friends, when like, consciously you're in a complete another dimension.
That's what I was going to say, is like, what if it's just more of like a conscious abduction?
Yeah.
You know, where you're not gone, but you are gone.
Yeah, which leads
almost like an astral projection.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which leads back to maybe the body's just a vessel, like, which is terrifying if they can abduct what makes you and leave this here. There's no way, like, not that there's any way to kind of protect yourself from alien abduction anyway, but there's no amount of locking yourself somewhere that will keep them from abducting your consciousness.
Yeah, you're kind of SOL at that point.
Yeah, like,
I don't know. It's a weird. It'd be a weird interface, but it's not impossible, you know, because you equate the human body to a computer. You know, it's got the, like, I just feel like the ability to hijack your consciousness at the same time, almost have the ability to control your body like a remote control device. Like, I feel like that's more than plausible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because they wouldn't have to do much, just make her there. Because if she just droned out, started staring at the fucking ground and drooling, everybody's gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
But if they put her on like a form of autopilot, no one would think different. And somebody might be like, "Hey, what, what's going on? Are you doing okay over there?" And yeah, I'm fine. I'm just thinking.
if you look into some of the encounters of Dr. Carla Turner, the aliens would threaten the abductees if they weren't compliant to what they wanted them to do. They'd say like, we'll just send a double in your place, or we'll send your body back and you won't, like, we'll just have something else fill your consciousness. Like, you'll remain here, your body will go back.
That's fucked.
Which kind of leans into this.
Man, that made me so fucking mad.
Be stuck in a damn UFO.
So fucking mad. I would be so mad because I know the type of person I am, and there would be a part of me screaming to attack them.
Oh yeah,
like fuck this noise. You're gonna threaten. Like I ain't the one, son.
Yeah,
I'm not the one. You picked the wrong one, even though realistically they didn't, because they're gonna fuck me up. But I know how I am in my head. And I know that I'm going to try to throw hands with superior, possibly ultra dimensional beings, and it's not going to fare well. But at the bare minimum, I would look. Well, never mind. They wouldn't even kill me instantly.
No, they
would just steal me, but send me back.
Exactly. Like, what do you even do? Like, start fucking up your body. So when they send it back, people will be like, "Whoa, what's wrong? Why is Steve missing an arm? What happened?" You know. It does make you like it. That's what that feels like. That when she said that her friends didn't even notice her being different, or didn't even notice her being gone. Well, she wasn't gone; she was there, but they didn't even notice it. I immediately thought of a consciousness abduction, which sucks.
Yeah, right. It's not even out of the realm to think that if they have the ability to essentially overlay dimensions on top of each other, who's to say that? Like they didn't manipulate everybody else's reality on top of it.
Yeah.
Like she was gone, but they're visually seeing her there on a loop, per se.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Because we've talked about more than one abduction scenario where it's because I remember one I did, I can't remember what the episode was called, but where the kids were outside playing kickball in the neighborhood and the one guy gets abducted.
Yep, abduction of a scientist.
Like, yeah, that's it. And it was just, it was like everybody else didn't even know. Like they were just like, "What are you talking about?"
It's crazy, terrifying, and crazy.
It is terrifying. I hope that's not a reality, but I feel like it's probably a reality
because we're getting there. There are multiple accounts of that happening.
Oh yeah.
Because they say that they can manipulate your perception of everything. So
yeah, I think that's I think that in a lot of cases that over the course of time people have overlooked that, because like I said, our body, the way it functions like a computer. Because the way it's explained to me is the way that we see. It's just electronic signals essentially from our eye to our brain. If you could get in between that and hijack that, which I would almost fucking guarantee you can,
yeah,
the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, that's a big flaw in us if that's true.
Yeah, it'd be like hacking a computer. It's just hacking a body.
Yep, because that also falls back into the Carla Turner abduction she interviewed. Like people would see the lady in white. Like that one guy got beckoned from out of his house. This beautiful woman in a nightgown was beckoning him, come here, come down here and you can get what you want. Yeah, you can get what you want if you come over here. He embraces her and all of a sudden he snaps out of it and it's this crazy reptilian looking thing that like
gives me goosebumps.
Left claw marks on his back. And there were other encounters where their dead loved ones were seeing their dead loved ones. Encounters where they saw Jesus. Jesus was like, "Hey, go ahead and go with them. It's okay." Like if your whole life is based in faith in Christianity, are you going to question Jesus?
No, you're going to go absolutely. Yeah.
Which is it's crazy. Anyway, we're getting back on it. The next encounter happened the following winter in 1984. Faye had went to the town of Newport to visit her new boyfriend. As she was walking to his house, she had a series of alleyways she had to take to navigate the town. She was walking through one of the alleys. She suddenly felt the urge to take one that wasn't necessarily on her route to her boyfriend's house. She just felt compelled to do so. As she started down this alley, from behind a fence came Sam. This encounter is brief and very to the point. He was different this time. There was no weird atmospheric anomaly, no weird smells. He was just there. He was still really tall, still lanky, but his skin looked much more human-like this time. He was also dressed in more human-esque clothes. Like, it didn't stand out. His clown suit, for lack of a better term, wasn't it. He walked more normal now, not hopping, not using his jerky motions that he had in the past. Even when he spoke this time, she said it was much more human, much easier to understand. He looked Faye in the face and told her that he didn't have a lot of time and that he's using one of his visits to do this for her. Faye asked what he meant, and he said, "I know you're going to see the boy. You shouldn't. Just turn around. Just go home. That is all. Please." Then he stepped back behind the fence and he disappeared. So Faye heeded Sam's warning and turned around and went back home. The entire encounter, she said, lasted barely a minute. And the details beyond this were left out. Paul left them out for anonymity's sake. But apparently that evening that she was supposed to meet with her boyfriend, him and some of his friends were arrested because they had committed a robbery that night. So essentially, Sam was sort of protecting her from getting mixed up with all that shit.
Weird.
The next encounter, we're getting toward the end here. Next encounter happened in 1989, which is 5 years from the last one. Sam had took a big hiatus. She hadn't seen him. The following and final visit from Sam took place in 89. Faye was an adult and newly married. And she was getting ready to move to the main island with her new husband. She was living with a friend still on the Isle of Wight. While their home had some renovations going on in their home that was finishing up. One afternoon, she decided to go for a walk in a nearby forest. As she was out walking through a meadow, something grabbed her attention. It was a hut. Not the hut that she'd seen when she was a child, but this one looked like it was upgraded. It was like a futuristic train carriage. She said it was long and it was white, and the roof was made of corrugated iron. She said it looked brand new. There wasn't a scuff on it, almost as if something had dropped it out of the sky from nowhere. Then she saw him. It was Sam again, and he looked very much the way he did in the first encounters. White face, weird markings, all just the normal Sam stuff. He then invited her in for tea, which she accepted. Inside, there was a table with some chairs. On the table was a device that sort of looked like a tea kettle, but she said it also wasn't a tea kettle. It didn't look like a normal tea kettle. She could tell that's what it was, but it didn't look like any she had seen here. She said the inside of the hut was illuminated, but she couldn't tell where the source of the light came from. He then poured her a cup of tea into a teacup that she said looked porcelain, but when she took it in her hands, she said it was super light and pliable, like she could squeeze it, and it would not crush, but like apply to her hands.
It's weird.
Yeah. She said she couldn't tell what the material was. She said the tea smelt of herbs, but she couldn't make out which they were. She drank it anyway. Said that she remembered it tasting sweet and it being very comforting. She sat and spoke with Sam for quite some time, but like the other encounter, she had a hard time remembering the crux of the conversation. She could remember bits and pieces, but just not the entirety of it. She referred to this as soft forgetting. Like she knew it happened, but she could not put the pieces together in her brain.
Girl, that's what we call programming.
Yeah, that's what we call alien amnesia.
Because that instantly tells me that the conversation was meant for a subconscious level to alter her way of thinking.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
It has to be. There's no other explanation for it because he's got purpose, right? He tells her, we're gonna meet 4 times. There's a purpose behind that. You don't just do that for no reason. There's purpose. And then there would be no reason other than experimentation. You could throw that one in there, sure. Outside of experimentation, why make someone forget a conversation?
Yeah. Yep. It's just like it is. It's like a memory block. Like people who get abducted don't remember it.
I think it's to me it just feels like a brainwashing technique.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what
Because he kind of lubed it up with the tea.
Yeah.
You know, making her feel calm and more accepting of situations, and not to mention his appearance alters as she ages, which makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, she's more and more accepting of things. It feels like as she ages, he becomes more relatable every time they meet.
Yeah. It's weird. She said one thing that she did remember was that Sam told her that the Berlin Wall would fall before the year was over, which it would come to do so. That seemed to be very important to him, as he brought it up before, Europe reuniting and all this stuff. As they spoke, Sam told her that he would only see her one more time, and he said that would be at the end. Faye went on to ask Sam where he was from, and in true Sam form, he said he was from this place, but different. He took Faye outside and raised his hand as to wave to her goodbye as she left. She made it a couple yards, or maybe about 50 yards away from the hut when she turned around to look to see if he was still there waving. He was gone. The hut was gone. And that was the last time she saw him. She knows that she'll see him again at the end, which I'm assuming is the end of her life, which is, I think, why she came forward to Paul. She's getting older now, and she's kind of like knowing that this might be getting closer to the end.
That's ominous. That would be kind of disheartening, you know, because especially if you're in like what you appear as semi decent health, and then you see him one day and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. She's not super old. If she was 7 in 73, had been born in 67, she's not super old.
But regardless, I mean, the fact, odds are
he's like a harbinger of death.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's why she kind of wanted to get this story out. Paul has done a couple interviews with podcasts here recently. He did one with AP Strange and another with the podcast Modern Fairy Sightings. If you want to go listen to those, check them out. They're both on YouTube, and he goes into detail about his interactions with Faye and more kind of on the Mr. Y UFO arc that has to do with it. But to wrap it up here, was kind of thinking about like, if this is a hoax, to what end? Like the amount of effort you'd have to put in to the evidence, which would be the notebook. You know, like Kyle said, just even making it waterlogged, it seems like a detail that most people would leave out. You know,
I think so.
And then to go even beyond that, to obtain the letters back and forth from Mr. Y to Bufora is even beyond that, which essentially there's not really any financial gain for Faye. She's not making any money from coming forward. She's not like, nothing is happening because she still wants to stay anonymous. This is all just a pseudonym.
Yeah, that's true. And Sam's one of those easily overlooked entities as anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's mind blowing that there are people that came forward trying to be her, but that's people for you.
Yeah. And people are like, well, maybe Paul's trying to capitalize on this weird one-off entity, which not a lot of people have heard of, you know?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, Paul's putting on these talks, which people will pay to see, but he is also saying that he is going to put them on YouTube for free so people can come and see them. He also stated that if he writes a book on this, he's going to put a free PDF for people to download. So he's not like raking in cash, you know.
I don't think that he would anyways.
No, I think it's too one-off.
It's definitely too one-off. You have a little cult following for sure.
But you're not gonna set the world on fire, right?
No fucking way. No way.
So it does. I mean, it feels like granted, you can't prove that the encounter happened, but this does feel like it's legitimately the Fae that is from the original encounter, right? You can't prove what
Yeah.
she saw was real, but obviously she thinks that what she saw was real.
Yeah.
So there,
I do have a sneaking suspicion that her and Paul don't believe that this is an alien abduction.
no, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I was going to write that down because she never once, in all of her writings and all of her diaries and all of her interactions and interviews with Paul, never once mentioned Sam being an alien or mentioned a UFO. Anytime that was brought up, it was from her father, Mr. Y.
Yeah.
She did say that she thought he was a ghost. She brought that up multiple times, but she never once.
As like later on in life?
Yeah, I get.
Or
Yeah.
as a child?
No, both. He said even later on, she still believed that he was some sort of like from some sort of spirit realm.
I mean, I guess it still falls in my theory. I think that they think, and it's kind of obvious, I think they think it's the Fae.
Which is interesting because Paul is a big UK folklorist, which that's steeped
Fae is
deep.
large over there.
Yeah.
They just went on he just went on a podcast. Well, and what was it called?
Yeah, modern fairy sightings.
There you go.
And if you
so bare minimum, he thinks it's Fae. Guaranteed.
Something.
One of them is leaning toward Fae. Not to mention probably him because of the pseudonym name that he, or what, the fake name that he gave her, Fae.
Well, that was given to her from the original Bufora encounter from 78.
Oh,
that
really?
was the pseudonym they gave her. Yeah.
Okay. Either way, I just kind of feel like somebody in the story is leaning more toward Fae.
Which he did come forward and say that since he has started talking about Fae's follow-up encounters, people have been reaching out to him, not with more encounters of Sam, but with similar encounters with beings that kind of feel the same. He hasn't, as far as I know, went on to publish any of it, but he may be talking about it in his talks. I think he's got one coming up in November on the Isle of Wight. For anyone that's in the UK that can make it there to check it out, I wish
I could go.
He said that he would post it up on YouTube. So if I can find it, first I want to shout out YouTube channel, The Tape Library. They were the first ones that I found talking anything about Sam when I did the first episode. And I just saw that they had released this a few days ago, probably 10 or so days ago. So I was right in it. So
he'd be interesting to talk to.
Yeah, he would probably, I assume he'd probably do a show.
I think that he would be. I think he'd be interesting to talk to.
Yeah. It would be cool to hear it from his perspective.
Yeah.
Especially like getting to handle the notebook. How fucking cool would that be?
Be awesome.
To have Sam's notebook.
Be awesome.
I'm going to just offer my entire life savings, which is about $14.
Should probably go for it.
Yeah.
I'd just put it in a box and hang it on the wall.
Yeah. I would write in it to see if Sam would come. I'd be like,
he just gets pissed. He's like, what the fuck?
Stop writing in my book. He'd pull out his wand and just create a bunch of, the flute wand thing is very Fae-like. Writing in the air and making things like.
Yeah, I feel like somebody in that story is leaning Fae.
It's bizarre.
I just don't like. I see a lot of the connection. The thing that throws me off is the hut, and there's probably something in Fae folklore that aligns with it that I just am not aware of.
There are fairy houses and shit.
Yeah, why in this one do they look tin? I've never heard tin. or metal hut or whatever the fucking descriptive word was.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Is interesting.
I don't know. But there you have it, Holocult. A follow-up to an episode I never thought there'd be a follow-up to. I know it was a favorite of some of you. I think JJ was all about it, so she'll be excited to get to hear this and kind of get some more Sam in her life.
Yeah, I'd be interesting for her in the Holocult. I'm ready for my episode to spit venom because it's gonna be good.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be, if I can remember everything, it's gonna be good because I'm gonna spit venom in a lot of ways.
Good.
It'll be a lot of shitting in people's Cheerios.
Good.
Yeah,
we are good at that sometimes.
Yeah, because I think I know now, hearing this and recalling some other podcasts that I've dabbled on. I think for sure people have heard about what I found, but I think people are twisting them to their narratives is what's happening.
Oh, people don't do that.
Right.
Come on.
I'm taking it for what it is and what I directly read. But I 100%, I can fucking promise you that there are people that have, like, take it and twist it to their narrative.
Because that, like, John Keel was fully in the ultra terrestrial camp. He said they don't need to come from outer space; they're already here.
Yeah,
and
I think for what I think there's a high probability that my entity and Sam are probably in that category.
That's terrifying. The visuals I had of these things just like essentially manifesting doors to dimensions that they just pass in and out of, very much like Monsters Inc. through the closet.
Oh yeah, good call.
Which is like a soft disclosure, right?
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
It just can move in and out and just like nothing. And it was also weird to me that, like, when he was in our dimension, almost like he wasn't used to the gravity or to the way our physics worked, which is why he moved all. But when she kind of fell into his realm, she said he just moved smooth, just like he was gliding along.
It is weird. It's
strange.
It is strange. I think this is an interesting episode. Next one's going to be interesting.
I love it.
The tie-in's going to be cool. And I don't know. I don't want to ignore, because it, like, in my heart of hearts, I always want to lean alien. But man, there are a lot of fucking tells that suggest this is not extraterrestrial, that this is more in that the UD camp, the ultra dimensional. Yeah. I really am leaning that way.
I fucking love it. I can't wait. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's fucking bizarre that your Sam the Clown falls in the realm of what I got cooking.
The crazy thing is that I didn't decide to write this. I didn't even think about this until last night.
That's weird.
Which is weird.
Because I didn't just settle on. I settled on mine like maybe Sunday, Monday.
No, that's not true.
I didn't
decide to write. I saw that the YouTube video had dropped a week ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna touch back on this. And then I had something else I was gonna write about, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna chime into this. And then he started like recapping the encounter and shit, and I'm like, God, that is so weird. I just gotta dive into this.
It is weird.
So yes.
Yeah, I didn't settle on mine until Sunday.
That's awesome. That happens to us a lot, though. It's very synchronatic.
Yeah. Yeah, because me and Shauna did a bunch of shit Saturday, and then Sunday I'm like, I'll get this popping. And then like I said, I started on a book, went down, I was going down a whole different rabbit hole, but then I fell into this one, and I'm like, oh, fuck, that's cool.
I love it. All right, Holocult, we're going to wrap it up there. It's getting late. Let me know your thoughts. You go back and revisit, Sam, what'd I say, episode 152?
Yeah.
Go back, check it, come back here. It's interesting. Again, I'll post the original link to the PDF probably in the Patreon for all of you there. You can search it up yourself if you have the time and want to do it. But yeah, the return of Sam the Sandown Clown. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for kicking it. Hope everybody has a good work week. And until we meet again, stay safe, stay weird, and just don't drink tea from ultra dimensional beings, ultra terrestrials. You know what I mean.